أغمض عينيك وتذكر أغمض عينيك وتذكر تسبيحا حلوا كالعنبر.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. Brothers and sisters, today I want to talk about something I suppose that you hear pretty much every Eidul Adha. Eidul Adha, you'll remember, recounts the story of Khalilullah, the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam and what he was asked to do by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there's actually a story just before that where Ibrahim alayhi salam, maybe you don't know, but Ibrahim alayhi salam was an old man before he had his first child. He wasn't in his 20s or 30s. So, the scholars differ about the age, but they say generally that he was an old man when he had his first child. And be they prophets, brothers and sisters, they're still men, and every man has a yearning, and a woman has a yearning to have their child, their family, and to have lineage, or to have people who would succeed them, who will carry on their names. And certainly in the case of the prophets, alayhimus salam, they had a desire that their progeny would continue the work that they were doing, calling people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it was no different for Ibrahim alayhi salam. So after many years, he had his first child, Ismail, with Hajar. And one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired Ibrahim alayhi salam and told him to take Hajar and his son Ismail to a far off place, to a barren desert. And it was a long journey from where they were, and they went for a long time, and they walked and walked and walked, and suddenly they stopped in a barren valley. Nothing. No trees, no animals, no running water, nothing. There was nothing there at all. To take someone to a place like that is as if to allow them to perish on their own. When you've got nothing, there's no one nearby, you don't know what to do. You're miles and miles and miles away from anyone. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, when they got there, he simply stopped and he turned round and he started walking away. It's very odd. Imagine that you're a lady with your child, and your husband or spouse, or he just suddenly turns around and starts to walk away without saying anything to you. You have no idea what's going on. So she calls out to him and she says to him, has Allah commanded you to do this? She doesn't say, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving us here? What's going on? Are you mad? There's no one around here. There's no water. There's no trees. There's nothing. She just says to him, has your Lord commanded you to do this? And he turns around. So imagine, brothers and sisters, okay, he's with his infant son. Years and years and years he's waited. He's got his son, Ismail. What father wouldn't be happy with their infant son? And he just leaves him in the desert. And he turns around and his beard is wet, he's been weeping. And then he just nods to her. And then she says, then Allah will not allow us to become lost. SubhanAllah, the faith that woman had, despite having no sign, no obvious sign that there was going to be any help, she says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow us to become lost. And then we know the story of when Ibrahim alayhi salam went away, and after a while, the baby Ismail became hungry, thirsty, and crying as he was. His mother ran between two mountains, which is what we do when we go to Mecca, emulating what she did. and on returning back to her child and finding that there was nothing more that she could do, she sat with him, and then an angel appeared and struck its wing at the feet of Ismail, and where he struck his wing, water started to gush forth, and that is, as you know, the well of Zamzam. So we have a story here, the first part of the story, I suppose, where Ibrahim alayhi salam has in some ways sacrificed or left his infant son for no more than a commandment that he heard from his Lord. The second story, as you will know, is that of Ibrahim alayhi salam again being told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a dream, where he sees himself sacrificing his own son. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, I mean, there's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls him Khalil, calls him his friend. Because Ibrahim alayhi salam would respond immediately. He wouldn't sit there deliberating over hours and thinking about whether or not this is the right thing to do. You know, I've got this dream, you know, maybe it's not what I'm supposed to do. A'udhu billah. He acted. It wasn't a decision of whether he was going to do it. He just hesitated about how he was going to break it to his son. But then he approaches his son, it's in the Quran, and he says to him that, in very plain speak, in fact, that I see myself sacrificing you. This is what Allah has inspired me with. And his son said, If'al kama tu'mar, do as you have been commanded, my father. Do as you have been commanded, and you shall find me from those who are patient. And you shall find me from those who are patient. Subhanallah. I mean, in the same way that Hajar in some ways gave him solace at the point of leaving her and his son by saying those words, also his son gave him some solace. And he said, just do as you have been commanded, you will find me patient. And so Ibrahim alayhi salam took him, and he was about to sacrifice him, and then when he opened his eyes, he found that there was a ram there that Allah had replaced instead of his son. And that is the udhiyah that we do on Eidul Adha. We sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in both of these stories, in both of these cases, what you're finding is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is expecting of Ibrahim alayhi salam to do the thing that humanly we may find probably the most difficult thing to do. Those of you who have children will be able to empathize with that. Those of you who don't, you'll know that when you have them, inshallah. To have your child, I mean, even when your child there's something wrong with him or her, they've got some sort of illness that you don't understand. It's not coming down with the regular Nurofen or Calpol or whatever it is that we give them regularly when they're feeling unwell. Nothing's happening. What happens? You begin to panic. You begin to think of the worst things. You become frantic. You start to worry about your child. And here is Ibrahim alayhi salam. Think about it, brothers and sisters. This is Allah's friend. Just acting in obedience to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his son, his most beloved son. And some of the scholars say that the test was because of Ibrahim alayhi salam's closeness to Ismail. They say, some of the Mufassirin say, it is because of that reason, because of his extreme love for his son. Imagine after having your child after that long, how much you would want that child. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Mufassirin, some of them say, He chose to test Ibrahim alayhi salam with that which would be the most difficult for him to part with. And that was his son. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he succeeded, brothers and sisters, on both occasions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not allow his son or his wife or whoever it was to become lost. That's important to reflect upon. But it's also important to think about here is that when it comes to this type of sacrifice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expected him to do, fortunately in our day, we are not expected to make such sacrifice. And there's something to be thankful about that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not commanding us, possibly because He knows of our weaknesses. He knows that we would not be able to bear things of this nature. We are not prophets of Allah. But there's a principle here that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he did what was going to be right in obedience to Allah. Why? Because Ibrahim alayhi salam wanted to attain the paradise. Ibrahim alayhi salam wanted to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are levels of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers and sisters, and I dare say that most of us, as Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah mentions, he says that most people are like merchants. He says, we're tujjar, we're merchants. We basically say to Allah, we'll be good as long as you don't punish us. That is the lowest form possibly of being of belief in that sense. When I say the lowest form, it's you're acting righteously, but simply in the knowledge that, or the hope that Allah won't punish us if we do what He says. And the highest form is what Ibrahim alayhi salam, or they say Yusuf alayhi salam, and certainly the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Anbiya, managed to realize, and that is the position of doing something purely out of the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, purely out of His love, as a child would do, I suppose, for their parent, out of extreme love for them, obedience to that parent out of love and wanting nothing else in return. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He help us aspire to that maqam, to that station, to be able to be like those who are able to do that. Ameen. So, in this case, returning back to the point, I suppose, Ibrahim alayhi salam is looking out for his hereafter. He's looking out for his akhirah. And I want to ask us, just reflecting on this point because it's related to our children, how many of us do that, brothers and sisters? Because we have opportunities. And this is the central part of the message that I'd just like to share before we close soon, is that Ibrahim alayhi salam is putting forward all the time his obedience. So we just talked about his station as doing things purely out of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even for us who are these merchants, these traders with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we want something. If we want the Jannah, if that's what it's all about, if we realize that one day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take our life and that we will expire, we will pass away, that we will be put into the ground by our fellow man, that people will pray the janazah over us and leave us there in the mud. Leave us there to decompose. Leave us there with nothing. We have nothing. What do we take with us? We take nothing. We can try and put, some of our money, some of our wealth, we can try and have it, like the pharaohs did, like the kings of Egypt did in their pyramids. They had their wives and they had their gold and they had everything buried with them in the hope and the desire that when they passed on into the afterlife, that all of that would go with them, but nothing went with them. And nothing will go with us, brothers and sisters. So what do we take with us? We only take our righteous deeds. That's all we take. We take nothing else. And one of the best ways, and one of the best ways after a person dies, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in fact, there's a hadith where a man who is in the heavens, he will be raised in the heavens. He will be raised up in the heavens. And then he will ask, how did this happen? I was here and now I've come to a better place. He's not going to be unhappy, but he's asking, why is this? How did this happen? And he will be told, وَلَدٌ صَالِحٌ يَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ. A righteous child was seeking forgiveness for you. A righteous child was seeking forgiveness for you. Brothers and sisters, we only take our good deeds up to the grave, and then after that, what can we do? We don't want to get to the time. We always assume that we're going to live to a very old age and that we'll have opportunities. Let us do what we need to do now. Let us make sure that our children are, well catered for and settled. Let's make sure they have plenty of inheritance. Let's make sure that they have a house each, or whatever it is that we're planning to give them. But what we're not planning to do, and it's not in the immediacy of our day-to-day lives, is the notion that Allah will take our life at any point, and how prepared are we to leave behind children that will seek forgiveness for us? Seems like a small point, brothers and sisters. It could be the point of someone being freed earlier from the fire. And make no mistake, brothers and sisters, there will probably be, and I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enters us into the Jannah directly after the hisab, after the reckoning. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the depth of my heart that He doesn't cause us to be purified for even a moment in the fire. But that's the reality, my dear brothers and sisters. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised those who believe, He has promised them the paradise ultimately. But for those who commit injustices against their fellow man, against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah is just and He will purify some of us through the fire. So are we going to be from those who go directly into the Jannah, or are we those who are going to spend some time being purified? And so your child or your children could be that one thing, brothers and sisters, that cause you to move either in stations between Jannah or move directly to the Jannah, or however Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills it and decrees it. But if we put no investment, like Ibrahim alayhi salam did, he wasn't thinking about anything else. He was thinking about the hereafter. He was thinking about his son's hereafter as well. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knew in his heart Allah will not cause any oppression to occur. That was his solace. He didn't know how it would happen. He didn't know that his son would be replaced with a ram. He didn't know that. He had no idea. He wasn't hoping that, oh Allah, I hope that you replace him with the ram. He was just going to do what he was asked. But he knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would recompense them both in a way that would exceed their expectations. And that's what we have to have, brothers and sisters. We have to have tawakkul and hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when we do the right thing, and the right thing is what? Knowing that we're going to die, we're going to put the notion of dying and securing our places in the hereafter, in the Jannah, at the forefront of everything. And that means that when we're bringing up our children, there are sacrifices that we need to make, brothers and sisters. Oftentimes we make the sacrifices in the wrong way. The sacrifice is always towards the dunya. That is the sacrifice. And then just think about it. Who knows when we're going to pass away? Who knows when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take our life prematurely? We see of many people on the TV, celebrities, people suddenly struck down. Suddenly, all of a sudden, without reason, without cause, in the youth of their prime, they go to Harley Street to these doctors who are supposed to be, the best in London. They pay them exorbitant sums of money, and yet they can't save their life. They can't do anything for them, because when Allah decrees a matter, that's when it happens. So how prepared are we? I'd ask all brothers and sisters to think about what Ibrahim alayhi salam did in preparing himself for the hereafter, thinking about his hereafter, thinking about his family's hereafter, and I would urge all of us to do the same. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا كربا إلا نفسته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مظلوما إلا أيدته ولا عسيرا إلا يسرته. اللهم اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك أنت الرؤوف الرحيم. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم من أرادنا أو أراد الإسلام والمسلمين بسوء فأشغله بنفسه يا قوي يا عزيز. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك وأنعم على عبدك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. عباد الله رحمكم الله. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أعلى وأولى وأهم وأجل وأتم وأعظم وأكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Brothers and sisters, can I say on behalf of the Norbury Muslim Center an Eid Mubarak to you all. كل عام وأنتم بخير. Subhanallah, 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 Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah, 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 Alhamdulillah. Subhanallah, Subhanallah.